1 Corinthians 10 and 13. 1 Corinthians is going to be a delay
King James.
in 10 and 13. Yep. I'm going to read it in the King James, and then I'm going to probably read another translation. But I got you. I got you. All right. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man.
That's enough right there.
What are you tempted by, brother? We had to say that. What tempts us? What provokes us? What prods us? Pricks us?
Our temptation is driven by our own self-will.
Yeah. You think so?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Whatever, you're tempted by what you want to be tempted by.
So you don't have self-control.
That's basically it.
There have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. So they're familiar.
They're familiar temptation stuff we've
Common.
already done.
But here's a but. God is faithful, who will not, I repeat, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. There's a song by Hezekiah Walker that says, he knows how much we can bear. That's a good song. And people just kind of say that sentiment. Jesus knows how much I can bear. So you say that and it gives you license to act a monkey.
That's what we do. We say that.
Well, I can't handle it because he knows how much.
He knows my heart. He knows me. That's just an excuse. It's always been an excuse. Everybody that
Maybe.
says that, God knows my heart. He knows me. It's an excuse for you to act the way you want to act and do what you want to do. It's just that simple.
We were talking about this. I was talking about this with a couple of people, and they were saying that we have a measure of grace. It's a summation of what they were saying. And so, God knows how much we can bear, but he knows also
how far you gonna go.
How far we're gonna go. Yeah, our frailties and how we're in the flesh, he knows that as well. I agree with that. My only contest to that is that it starts with, there have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. And God is faithful. He is faithful. And he won't suffer you to be tempted above what you're able. So if you fall into something, into this particular temptation, you were able
to not fall.
Thank you, all.
That's no excuse.
And good night. So we make a lot of excuses, right, to accommodate our lack of self-control, our lack of fortitude, and our
own willful ways.
Yes.
We make excuses to do whatever we want to do. It's just that simple.
We say, oh, God got me. He has grace. He has mercy. I promise you, there is a point
that grace
where even God will say, enough of this. The first chapter of Romans is very explicitly specific about that. And God gave them over, which means he first had you.
Let you do what you want to do.
You still was wiggling. He was holding you, keeping you, and you still was trying to get out. But you don't want that.
Let me tell you, the worst thing that can happen to anybody is that God allows you or leaves you to yourself.
Talk to me.
And to let you do
talking good.
Whatever it is that your mind
can
comprehend.
Gave them over.
That is the worst thing that can happen to anybody in life. God gives you over
to a reprobate mind. Do those things which are unseemly. He gave them over to their own fallacies. Listen, anybody ever been in Lodabar?
Huh? I don't even know what Lodabar is.
Lodabar was a place of no communication. Literally, the name meant that. No communication. Can you imagine not hearing from God? Some of us experience it right now. We feel like God is not close. We haven't heard from him. But we feel that he is distant from us. I would like to suggest that if you are doing the right walk, He is there. And it's like the footprints poem in the sand. And, oh yeah. And he had the footprints. Yes, all right. That's so funny. It's like a live, like a comedic thing that's on YouTube.
Oh.
Like, huh? In the bathroom is flushing over there, right? It's live, so anything can happen. There's somebody in the back like say, "Hey," trying to, that's funny to me. And here I go, like, huh? So you have to be mindful that it's live, but live and anything can happen, and usually does, particularly with me. And so it's unfortunate that is that, but
the pastor's coming in.
It's live, so can't help it. That's why we try to make it closed set, but we can't make it. Well, I don't know how to make it because we need more help. So we know how to do that. Yeah. So anyway, Pastor, were you looking?
Of course. My first time ever seeing TNT live.
It's still live. You should see yourself walk in any minute now. So, man, it was actually some good conversation though. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. But, again, there's a but. So there's two buts in here. But will with the temptation, this is what God does, with the temptation that is seeking you out and before you and presenting us what seems to be an obstacle, also God will also make a way to escape.
That's because he loves you.
But you don't want that.
But you don't want that.
He will make a way to escape that ye may be able to bear it. Joseph left his coat. Escape. Your name is Joseph. See how that works?
Sure is.
Joseph left his coat that it was a prized possession of his, but it was not more priceless than his soul. Talk to me.
He got away.
He left it.
He got away.
Huh?
And see, well, this is the crazy thing. God was making a way for an escape when you get into your mess.
He still made it a way.
He still makes a way.
He came in there and made it.
I done a lot of stuff, and God made a way of escape.
He made a way.
See? That's his grace, his mercy, and him just loving you. But there's no excuse for you to act a monkey.
Don't act a monkey. That's really it. That's what we've done. There have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation. He didn't remove the temptation. You got to catch that part.
Preach.
With the temptation, also simultaneously make a way to escape. What are you focused on? Are you focused on the temptation? Are you focused on the way to escape? There are exit signs in every commercial building that you ever can go in. That's a code. It has to be up to code before it can be open to the public. For you to even do your business in that place. There's exit signs. There are signs for escape. But if you don't see the signs, if you're not looking, if you don't pay attention, you will be stuck in the building. It seems like you're going around in circles. You got me going in circles. Yeah, see how they go? Round and round. All you got to do is look at the signs. You can hit the bar and go out.
There's nothing worse than going around in circles.
Man.
That's a sign of disobedience. Going around in circles.
Can God trust you to use his way of escape? This is what I wrote. Hold on, let me show you.
First question was, can God trust you?
That's the first part.
Whew.
That's the first part. He said he got hot when he first
That just made me nervous. Because our first natural reaction or response is, yes, God can trust me. Really? I know me. I don't know about nobody else. Now, I know me. I know me. And I know that some situations, some things can happen or be said that, I might not respond in a godly way. So, I mean, that's a question that God has to answer himself. I can't say, well, yes, God can trust me,
Right.
because I'll never know. The flesh sometimes, I'm saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost, but that's still Shawnee here.
Right.
So for me to say, oh yeah, God can trust me, it sounds good, but you got to ask God, well, God, can you trust me? Because he knows me better than I know me. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, God can trust me. He can 100%. No. Not going to do that.
I think he, if he knows, it has something to do with us not being able to trust ourselves or him.
That's true.
Because he provided a way of escape. He told us that he did. Listen, take this time to like, share, and subscribe the page. Like the page,
Do that.
share the page, subscribe the page. Do it now, right now. Don't do anything else. We're going to stop and take a moment for you to do it.
Pause.
Everybody.
That's the pause button. Trying to make it a play button.
Change his keys and everything. All right, have you done it? We'll take another one in a moment. But do that, please. Thank you. Do it. All right, tell somebody else to do it. Now, I took a couple of notes. We can really end it here. It's so good, it's to the point. And I can't see the notes anyway. But I mean the screen, the comments. God knows how much we can bear. He would not place on us more than that. He wouldn't do it. Right? In the book, we know that's true. The book says it. He trusts us, catch this, to do or bear the part that he knows we can't already. Like he trusts us for that. The problem then, seems to me, is that we do not know or we do not fully believe that we can bear what God already knows that we can. We don't believe it. Something happens, something triggers, and we all of a sudden realize, like Peter, that we're on water. When we first knew it, and then we realized, we're like, oh my God, I'm on the water. So then something happens and we start to doubt it for a moment, right? And doubt has the same letters as do, but. Well, I do, but. See how that works? I kind of do, but. And even that is fueling all of our other related emotions. The doubt does. The doubt fuels everything else. Mm-hmm. Your anger, your hurt, your disappointment. All of that is fueled by doubt. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Absolutely.
Kind of sort of.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you say God wants to put more on you than you can bear.
Yeah, the book said it. Right.
Yeah, that's the book. What happens when you put more on you than you can bear? What happens? So as that still goes the same premise, God makes a way for your escape because he knows that we are foolish.
Right. That's a good point. A good question. What say you, Reverend? I think I have an answer.
Well, context of that particular verse that we're in isn't that when you fall for or in the temptation that he has a way for you to escape out of the temptation.
Uh-huh.
It is when the temptation is present, he has a way for you to escape from falling into the temptation. Okay?
Right.
Which is why Jesus says,
make it plain.
Deliver us, from evil, lead us not into temptation.
Right.
So now we then kind of get into what happens when we fall.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible is
and don't use the escape.
Right. The Bible is very clear, that a righteous man will fall, 7 times. Steps of the righteous, the good man are ordered by the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
When he falls, God is able to pick us up even in those times that we fall. So the question is an awesome question, but the answer is that you cannot have a failure bigger than God's grace.
Wow. Y'all hear that?
The end.
Let
Now,
the church say amen.
Does that
Right.
mean that you get to keep doing whatever?
Now, that's what we were talking about right before
That's
you
right.
came
I
in.
was
Yeah.
tuning in.
Right. You can't do that.
That's not an excuse for greasy grace, but you cannot fall so far away from God that his arms are not strong enough to pick you up out of whatever you're into. And so there is knowing that, that's why we're supposed to then walk circumspectly and trying to function according to his will and his way for us. I think for me, like when Mike and I were talking about this before, the linchpin of this verse really is the knowledge of God versus the knowledge of ourselves. And God knows stuff about us that we don't know. So because he knows it, that doesn't necessarily mean that I know it. So he may know that I can escape whatever the temptation is in front of me. That don't mean I know it, right? And so because I don't know everything that he knows, I have to lean not unto my own understanding, but all my ways acknowledge him. And the reality is that from a practical standpoint, that whatever you're facing, if you take a moment, what would Jesus do? Acknowledge God in that moment, you got a way of escape. Because I can guarantee,
sir,
that when the dude is standing in front of you and you want to punch him in his jaw, and you say, you know what, God, do I need to punch this dude? Or do I need to turn and walk away? You have a way of escape.
Yeah.
Now you hit him anyway.
In that moment, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But in that moment, I guarantee you, if you take that beat, if you take that breath, you will find that now you're leaning onto his understanding and not your own. But yeah, that's a great perspective. What happens when we are the ones who, screw it up and put stuff on our own plates?
Grace.
We're gonna have to suffer the consequences, but he's still able to deliver us, even when we're dealing with it.
I don't want myself or any of you to be guilty of abusing the privilege of grace and mercy. And in relationships, in family and otherwise, we are often guilty of that, of abusing the privilege of unmerited favor and unconditional love. What we're saying, we're going to test the boundaries. We're just going to do that. And we have contingencies of, like, on boundaries of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't want anybody to be guilty of that. I don't want to be guilty of that. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Especially when we just default immediately to, oh, God got me. He's grace, so his grace can abound more and more. No. He gave you a measure of wisdom. Yeah, and you have to operate.
You have to, like Paul, find comfort in being abased and abounding, and recognizing what temptation is and how it comes. In preparation for tonight, I looked at temptation in the Bible, and it's so amazing that obviously temptation is a test.
Right.
Well, the time of testing, the time of the gestation period of testing is 40 days in the Bible. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness, Moses, Elijah, time of testing, even David, when he fought Goliath, it was 40 days that he was vexing Israel. Well, when you look at temptation from an Old Testament perspective, almost every single time you see the word temptation, it is in reference to them in the wilderness, which was their time of testing. It was supposed to take them 40 days. Well, their temptation, and the reason that they fell into temptation is because they did not recognize that this period was temporary, and they kept complaining about it. And so they fell into temptation because they kept complaining about the reality of going from promise to possession. The interim. That's temptation. When you are waiting for God after he speaks to manifest, you fall into temptation when you decide that you don't want to wait, or that you want to complain, or that you want to have issues.
The key is waiting. Waiting is that's a big 4-letter word,
That's
sir.
it. That's it.
Nobody wants
Which
to do it.
I want to interject. goes back to self-control.
Yep.
This was the first thing that we started with.
That's it. All right.
Self-control.
Self-control.
You can't control situations. You can control how you respond to situations. And this is, oh man, it can be toxic and cancerous.
Yes.
Waiting. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Even having done all to stand. What you got to do? Stand some more.
Stand some more.
Wait. There is a level of impatience in this culture, currently, this contemporary culture, that is making us a microwave society, and the food ain't good. It's not good. My grandma used to start Sunday dinner, catch this, on Friday.
Mm. Mm.
And you wonder why it was
like that.
Yeah. Excuse me, got a chance to get in there.
God.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you don't go into the kitchen
Oh, no.
to bother.
go in grandma's kitchen.
Don't go in there.
Nah.
Wait.
Wait.
I need that. That's a ministry. We're gonna do something on waiting.
Like,
Patience.
the Bible says, "Let patience have its perfect work."
James.
In James, and like it's been stated, like we just don't want to wait. We just don't want to wait. We want stuff when we want it now.
Can God trust you to wait?
Can He trust you to wait? And that's the issue. Can He trust you to wait? Like,
But waiting, I mean, it's so we have to be fair that it's difficult. It's not an
yeah, it's
easy
difficult.
thing.
It's
You know, when the Bible says don't be weary in well doing, because well doing makes us weary, right?
Makes us weary. That's
It's
another
tired.
W word that's on my street.
Yeah,
God.
right. And so
Waiting and weary. God.
waiting and waiting.
yeah, what the children of
And well
Israel
doing.
didn't understand was that God literally singled that generation out to be the generation that was supposed to walk out of Egypt and walk into the promised land.
Mm.
And it was literally, you only had to wait 40 days to do it.
You only had to wait that
But
much.
they
You
didn't know
can't
that.
do
That's why they didn't know it. They didn't know.
But they didn't have to know it.
They knew to wait.
They knew.
They were supposed to trust the track record of the God that destroyed Egypt in a year.
Release them.
The 10 plagues
Yes.
that literally released them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you get released, you got released into something that you didn't feel like was deliverance. You
Right.
got released into the wilderness. It's still better than being a slave, but your mind is still a slave. And you don't understand, if I can process through this, I've got a promised land that's waiting for me. And because it's the same thing, they could not trust what he knew. Because he knew, he got it all set
He
up.
already said it.
out front.
And this is the thing. It's like we can't poo-poo them because I know I'm living it right now. I mean, I would guess everybody is. If you're in between promise and possession,
Yeah.
you have to be able to trust that the circumstance that's feeding your mind right now is not where you're going to end up.
not
It's
that.
not the final destination. And as bad as it looks, as dark as it may be, as broke as you may be, as crazy as you may feel, you've got to trust that the word God spoke, he's got a destiny, a destined end for you. And in the interim, that's when you can't really fall into temptation.
I love it.
And when
I love it.
when
I
you
love it.
waiting, you have to stay in the correct posture. You have to,
Mhm.
because like you said, you don't know, so you have to stay. What waiting does is it causes us to be confused. It causes us to be. It causes a number of things. Like stuff start to go to our mind. So now we're unstable because we don't know where we're going or where we're coming. God said this, like Pastor Joe said. God says this, and God says that. Now we're in between, so we're stuck. Now we go run around and beating our heads on the wall. What we gonna do? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? God says, "Be still. Be still." If He doesn't say be still, then don't be still. But see, in waiting, there's a posture that has to be there. And that has to be the correct posture with God. God may not tell you what the end is going to be, but He'll comfort you where you are to say, look, just trust me. Like, I've been in positions, all of us have been in positions where we're waiting on the Lord. And God didn't come down and say, look, this is what's going to be at the end. But He breathes on you. He gives you a breath of fresh air. Like, look, I'm here. Even though you can't see Him, He's like, look, I'm here.
Right.
I got you. Just hold on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And 40 days is not a long time. But for them, it seemed a lifetime because they didn't understand and they didn't want to wait.
It doesn't measure up to eternity.
Yeah, it doesn't measure to eternity. It's like 40 days.
Right.
Like you look at 40 days now and be like, oh man, 40 days, that ain't nothing. Like if God came down right now and said, look, in 40 days you're gonna be XYZ, you'll be like, yes, in 40 days. But if he says you're gonna be XYZ,
if God tells you, first of all, that telling you should not be a prerequisite.
it should.
That's number one. Let's start with that.
That's number one.
That don't have to be a prerequisite. But if he tells you, where does that increase faith? Right? That's a tool of manipulation. Like you're trying to control God in the parameters of your understanding.
Right.
Which dissolves faith, it negates it, puts it to the side, and then it also empowers you to be in God's position. Because I have all the pieces I know. Which moves God out of the room.
Right.
There's no need for God. Right. And you run the risk in that repeated action for him to give you over to that. Since you want to do my job, I can go do something else. He got plenty to be doing. You're a full-time job for God. I don't want to be a full-time God. I just want to do what he said.
That's it. Make it easy.
But guess what? There is a point. We talk about grace and mercy. Okay, I'm going to give you over to that. Go ahead and do that. What you said.
Yeah, it's the children of Israel are a classic example.
Yes.
Because God didn't tell them it was going to take them 40 days. He didn't tell them really anything except for they knew the covenant. But because they didn't trust him for those 40 days, it took them 40 years. And his grace was present. He fed them every single day.
Yes.
Their clothes didn't wear out. Their shoes didn't wear out. But only 2 of them made it into the promised land. And they spent 40 years going around and around, like you just said, because they could not pass the test. That's what temptation is. It is a season of, can you pass this test? And if you would have passed it, then you promote it. But guess what? If you fail it, you gotta keep failing it until you pass.
You stay in that grade.
You gotta keep failing.
Let me say this. Why, when you're waiting and you become in that from promise to possession, that period, that interim period you spoke of, why must everybody connected to you share your mission?
That's
good.
That's good. Jonah.
Why?
Jonah.
Yeah, we talked about that with Jonah.
Right.
Why is that? That should not be.
Because we're connected. Because we are bonded. We are bonded with the chains of love, and we're connected for one through the blood of Christ.
Yes.
So that makes us akin, brothers, sisters. So because of our connection with one another, and because of our bond with one another, we suffer with one another. You know, and what happens is, like, as a man, I should be spiritually enough mature to say, okay, God, I don't want my brothers to suffer along with me, so I'm gonna do what you say do. Right. But everybody's not like that. Some people are selfish. So it feels like, okay, if I'm gonna suffer, you're gonna suffer. So one of the reasons why when they was in the wilderness, one person heard from God, knew, but it was like, okay, well, everybody's gonna suffer.
He still didn't do right.
He still didn't do right.
Moses did not do right.
He did.
He didn't follow the whole plan, like to the end.
Yeah, you can't follow
and
but it's something. It's something to be said about that connection. Like,
yeah, but it doesn't happen.
But it don't. Yeah, go ahead, Pastor.
No, because I mean, again, we're using them as an example. However many of them it was, there were 2 of them that just said, "I'm not going to be like y'all," and God rewarded Caleb and Joshua, even over and above Moses. If you really think about
Correct.
it, with being the only 2 people who left Egypt and actually lived and entered into the promised land. So, how connected we are, I still have a choice to function according to how God has asked me to.
That's where I want to be. That's good. That's the part. Keep going right there. That's where.
And my choice,
yes.
I believe my choice will be rewarded. I don't have to die with you in what you're in, just because we're connected to one another. I have a destiny too.
Right.
And I don't have to suffer with you. I can love you. I can pray for you. I can fast. I can go to God. But at the end of the day, everybody is an individual. And we all have to, essentially, as the old people say, work on our own soul salvation.
Right.
Soul
But
salvation.
we're gonna, in our minds, put it so that it's not like that. And I think the world promotes that.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about Adam and Eve and the price of disobedience.
Mm.
Adam got the instruction. He did not have to be influenced by Eve.
Nope.
He did not have to do it.
Nope.
Whatever she did, however he came to that conclusion, we're talking about trying to keep the peace. He didn't want to be nagged on, whatever. There is nothing that should move you from what God told you to do, the instruction that you got. And then it shouldn't be charged against you as a barometer of this love, but instead of this love.
Here we go again. I got to go back again. Children of Israel again. If you read the story, you will find that God got ticked off at them. He told Moses, look, I'm about to get rid of all them jokers.
Yeah, everybody.
And
Everybody.
raise up me. I know how to create people. I'll make me another nation that'll handle this. Moses was so connected, and he's literally the single greatest leader in the history of mankind outside of Christ, right? Basically, right? He was so connected to them that he went to God on their behalf, said, "No, God, because if you do that, your reputation is going to be bad, and the people are going to say you couldn't do what you said you was going to do." God's like, "I don't care.
Right.
I got you. But he was so, and then God said, "Okay," and he allowed Moses' way essentially to have the free reign, and he gave them grace. He took his hands off them. He didn't kill them all, and they still kept failing these tests.
Still kept failing.
And to the point where he was like, "Man, y'all have tested me 10 times. I'm done." And says Moses, "You want to bang with them? You can hang with them too, but you should never be so connected to anybody. And it's tight, particularly when you talk about husbands, wives, family, pastor to a congregation. Moses is essentially the first, priest,
Pastor, right?
pastor,
Bishop,
military leader, administrator.
Yeah.
You should never be more connected here than you are here, and you still have to trust that God is going to work it out. If I gotta take these people out and raise up another people for you to lead, God told him, I'll do that. I'll do that for you because me and you are good. I don't know what's up with them jokers,
Man.
and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it, and he in the story that is there for us when you read that chapter.
Yeah.
Paul is very clear about those stories are for us. The reason why they went through these things is so that we can understand the example and then learn from it.
Right.
And so, particularly as a pastor, as a leader, you always have to make sure that there's a separation between you and your people, but that you're always, as you said, in right posture and position with God in leading them. And if they're not going to follow you, you can't stay with them. You have to let God deal with them, and you have to do and get where you need to go.
Well, any comments, questions, concerns? Like, share, like the page.
Like, share, subscribe.
Share, subscribe. Do that part. We're faithful and trusting that you're going to do it. And do it now, please.
Follow
and
us
thank
as
you.
we like, share, and
Yes.
subscribe.
And you should follow us anyway, because we're going somewhere.
That's it.
Hello?
To the top of whatever that
Let's
is.
go. Can God trust you? Are you trustworthy? Do you trust God enough for him to be able to trust you? It's cyclical. It's cyclical.
Do you trust God enough for him to be able to trust you? That's good.
Yeah. So the thing is, I tell my students, I shouldn't believe in you more than you believe in you.
Yeah.
And that's what this principle kind of is, this template.
Yeah.
God believes in you because he knows the end. He knows how much your shoulders can bear. And he says you can hold 5 degrees of what this thing is. And you broke down on the first one. Got in your feelings and broke down on the first
That's
one.
because we get in our feelings. And
How does it feel to you to disappoint God? Or are you even considering that? That you disappoint the Creator, disappoint the divine.
Or do you even know that you're disappointed?
You crush the Creator. Huh?
Do you even know that?
That's a rough deal, brother.
Yeah.
Even just me saying it. When you did not do what he knew you could do. And this is what blessed me a minute ago. The not knowing is the beauty of it. Because it forces you to rely on the strength and power and love of God, which he's there wanting to do anyway. He knows how much you can bear because he's God and he's the one actually bearing it. So you're snatching the power out of the hand of the Creator because you want to do it. I just can't get that thing. Blessed me when you were saying
every Shaw has said, like, do we know, right? And like you said, the not knowing is the beauty. Every coach can see probably more in his players than they can see in themselves. So there are certain things that I'm not going to let you get away with because I have an expectation. The movie Karate Kid comes to my mind, right? And that you want me to train you. Wax on, wax off, paint the fence. And you have no idea that I'm giving you muscle memory so that when the fight comes, you didn't even realize you were being trained the entire time. From zero. Now you could say, Danielson could say, man, Mr. Young, I don't know what he's doing. I ain't doing this. I don't trust him enough to put me in the best position. You would have lost. Because it don't look like what I think it should look like. But if you were the dude who could do it, you can train yourself. And not go to Mr. Miyagi. Brother, that's kind of good, sir. Ain't it?
Your perception of what things should be like can be your hindrance, your downfall.
Which is you in the way.
You're in the way.
You're deleting the divine.
You think it's supposed to look like this because you want it to look like this. No, you want it to look like this. Yeah. This is how I want it to look. And God was like, it's like, really? That's how it's not going to look.
I'm telling you.
So because you want it to look like this, you're going to get in the way.
Man. This is a good little session right here.
You gonna get in the
Can
way.
God trust you? Are you trustworthy?
Can God trust you to get out of the way?
All of that. Yep.
You want to stay in the way? Okay, fine. And God says, you want to stay in the way? Okay, I'm going to let you stay in the way. And you're going to wander in the wilderness for 40 years because you want to stay in the way. When you could have got out in 40 days. But because you wanted to stay in the way and in your way and everybody else's way, okay, fine.
He feeding you clothing the sky in the morning. It's just out food.
On the ground.
You still, some people, and you know how I go, I'm still taking more than I'm supposed to.
You getting full every day.
The rule is basic instructions, like specific. Don't take more than you're going to use. We live in a culture and society of excessiveness right now. Greed, yes. Greed. Which is the root of evil. Greed, not money. We talked about that. Right. The love of money, which feeds your greed. That's what feeds it and fuels it. And you had that instruction. Then he's blessing you. Food, clothes that don't wear out. 40 years. I got some clothes that wore out in 2 days. Right? 40 years. The same clothes. Not a whole bunch of changes of clothes. Right. And it wears out. Don't wears out. This is the same God that you're going to say, you know, well, I know he's doing that, but I'm going to build me, watch this, a God that's tangible, that I can see and control, and that I know what it is. No power.
No power, no
It's got some presence in the tangible sense, but there's no power.
Right.
Yep. If you just think about it, that's crazy. Because I know if I'm getting fed every day, not once a day,
just fed.
I'm getting fed every. When I wake up in the morning, it's food. When I lay down, before I lay down at night, it's food.
I want some, man. I want to try it.
I know, man.
Like,
what you think it tastes like?
Man.
I always, this is me. I just imagine that it tastes like angel food cake.
Makes sense.
The soft, the real soft, you know what I mean? Maybe that and the cross between that and Hawaiian sweet roll.
But you know what happened? They ate the same thing. So somebody came along and was like, you know what? I'm tired of eating this. I want something different.
Wow.
You've been getting manna every day for 2 weeks. So finally you wake up and was like, I don't want no manna. I want me a steak.
So God's grace is not good enough. Again, abusing the privilege.
So you get in the way and go try to make you a steak when you've been eating manna every day. Come on.
Pam said, get out the way and trust God. That's it.
It's just that simple.
So we geared to be out of here. We about to get out the way so
Get
y'all
out the
can
way.
get some of that trust in yourself. We love you. We appreciate you.
We love
We
y'all.
on this jank 50 minutes. Didn't even seem like it.
Yeah,
We had a good time. Can God trust you?
that's the question.
Can you trust you?
That's the other question.
That's a full-time job. I promise you. If you do that, you don't have time to mind everybody else's business.
You won't mind nobody else's business.
Right?
Nobody.
Build yourself to be a better version of you so that God will be able to trust you.
It's good.
Mm.
Focus on that.
It's good.
Focus on that. God will be pleased. Yes. I have no more.
I'm done.
All right, like, share, subscribe. We did it all these many times. We be telling you, if you don't do it now, we can't trust you. All right?
Can't trust that you following us.
And we out of here. Boom!
Full-time job.
Full time. It's true, ain't it?